Good morning. Uh, this last couple of weeks have been really amazing. All the things that have been going on in the world. This is a continuation of the BRICS video that I had posted a while back, and I warned everybody of what might happen. Well, this last couple of months have pretty much solidified that earlier prediction. Between the stock market going through the floor, basically, the other exciting things that have been happening that the news hasn't been really covering is we've had three banks um, go belly up, and they weren't small banks. I mean, we're not talking about little corner store banks. These were rather large banks, and they just financially went under. Now, why did this happen? Well, we're going to go back and talk about the BRICS thing again. The prediction that it was going to be a number of countries who were going to get involved in it, I think that might have been a little bit more than it could have been. I mean, they were talking about like five different countries going in on this. Turned out it only needed two big countries and our oil producing nation to really get it cranked up. Apparently, Russia and China had a lovely meeting last week. The Chinese leader came over and visited with Putin over in Russia, and they had a very long conversation about America. And they came to the agreement that America is not taking care of them. That we were, of course, we're helping Ukraine. Our lovely President Biden, I'm not going to call him president because he's not really leading our nation. Um, Biden went over and gave $300 billion to the Ukraine, and of course, Ukraine has been kicking Russia's butt, which is rather surprising since Ukraine is just a little country and Russia is a whole big continent. It should be the other way around. Theoretically, Russia should be, should have walked over Ukraine like yesterday's lunch or something. That didn't occur. Well, anyway, um, I guess China and Russia agreed that China's, I guess it's called the yuan, whatever their currency is going to be the new world currency. And because of that, um, they apparently had spoken to the OPEC nations, United Arab, Emirates there, and they talked them into basically taking the Chinese currency over the American currency. What does that mean? Well, if China's smart, which they seem pretty intelligent to me, they're going to start producing Chinese money like America does. Basically, they're going to print it up like toilet paper. And if they're really smart, what they're going to do is start buying up American dollars wherever they can and replacing them with the Chinese currency. Um, they'll probably also buy other currency too, because what's going to happen is most currency, you have to understand, America, the Russians, the British, whoever produces currency, every currency is judged by what its exchange rate is. To give an example, when I was in the Army in 1970, three to, and I went to Germany, the Deutschmark was 4 marks per dollar. So for every dollar I had, I could exchange that for 4 Deutschmarks. And I was doing pretty good at that rate. As a matter of fact, I wish I had bought more Deutschmarks because the fact was, when I went back to Germany in 1974, 75, the Deutschmark went to 2 Deutschmarks per dollar. So, in other words, for every Deutschmark I had, I could have exchanged two of them for an American dollar. I could have doubled my money, basically. Well, that's exactly what's going to happen. Basically, they're going to take every Chinese currency that they can get, and they're going to buy up whatever they can buy at the lowest rate they can buy it. So let's say right now, if the exchange rate is 1 to 1, okay, they can exchange $1 for 1 yuan or whatever, however that's pronounced. Okay. Now, as they go along and the dollar starts devaluating, which it's going to do because as you take a currency out of circulation and replace it with your own, it's going to start going down. So what they're going to be able to do is buy $1 for, say, half or a quarter or an eighth, until basically what's going to happen is it's going to bottom out. You're not going to be able to sell American dollars for nothing. And it's going to become what I said in the last video, toilet paper. Now, that may not sound like it's a big problem because we're talking about Europe right at the moment. But it's going to spread. What's going to happen is, as they move across and go through all the European nations, they're going to hit Germany and France and London and Rome and Portugal. And, basically what's going to happen is the American dollar, as they go along, is going to become worth less and less and less. Sooner or later, that's going to hit the European stock market, where they're going to start setting the exchange rate for the American dollar against all the European currencies. And once they set up that exchange rate in Europe, that's going to translate to the American stock market. And if you look at the American stock market, you can see that American dollars are always compared to other nations and other currencies for an exchange rate. And as the American dollar starts dropping out and becoming worth less and less and less, what's going to happen is American dollars are going to start coming back to America. And when it comes time to try to take the American dollars and exchange them for foreign currency, nobody's going to take them. The only place that American money is going to be worth anything is in America. But you have to remember that our nation, we used to be big exporters of a lot of stuff. We still export a certain amount of material and items, and we still have some pull here and there. But the fact is, oil is the biggest thing that most nations need. And if oil is only going to be able to be purchased with Chinese currency, then they're going to set the exchange rate. So what's going to happen is, even let's say we still export like wheat or food items, which is also a big currency because people have to eat, and that still creates a certain amount of income for us. We're still not going to be able to create enough export to cover what we need to import. Now, if Biden hadn't closed up our oil fields and our oil producing, we might still have a chance, because oil is one of the biggest commodities in the world. And I think the only way we're going to get that to happen is, of course, by bringing back President Trump. And whether that happens or not is a big question mark because of the fact that I keep saying the Democrats own the voting machines in America, and unless we can take back our voting machines and our and make our votes count, because 10 million, what was it, 100 million people voted for Trump, which was a huge amount, and somehow Biden still beat him. Okay, well, I'll leave that one alone. I'll let you guys decide how you want to deal with that. Okay, so what's going to happen? Well, if if the dollar falls out, and again, I'm going to use Venezuela as an example. I usually use Germany, but I think people are getting a little, that's old history. Venezuela is fairly recent. When the Venezuela money currency dropped out, when their money became worthless, basically people threw it out on the streets to show how worthless it was. I say we use it as toilet paper. I mean, if you want, you can use it to cook your meals because unfortunately, we're not going to be able to afford things. I almost can see gas going up to $400 a gallon if this works out the way it's right now looking. How long is it going to take for this to happen? That's a good question. I mean, it's according to how quickly the Chinese Yuan, or whatever. I got to look that up, see how it's pronounced. However long it takes for Chinese currency to take over American currency in Europe is going to determine how long it's going to take before America gets affected by this. Now, I think a lot of the ways we're going to see that happen is we're going to have to watch gas prices. Gas prices start going up like they were, and you start seeing $5, $6, $7 a gallon. And of course, food prices are going to go up and everything's going to go up. And the American dollar is going to start being worth less and less because as the value of things go up, unfortunately, the American dollar is not going to follow it. It can't. There's too much American money out in the world right now, and if no one else is accepting it, it's going to end up being worthless, and that's a sad fact. I mean, you can argue it. You can say, "Oh, the American dollar can't go become worthless." I mean, I'm going to go back to Germany. They were taking wheelbarrows of Deutschmarks to the store to buy a loaf of bread. And trust me, it could happen. I like I said, the American dollar, because of the fact it was recognized as a world currency, had strength. We basically, as one person pointed out, basically, if somebody didn't do what we wanted them to do, we could sanction them by not giving them American dollars, by not giving American aid, by not giving American support. And once America's dollars are no longer have that power, no longer have that strength, we basically lose whatever oomph we had on the world stage. And it's going to get ugly out there. I keep telling people, go to the store, stock up on food, stock up on whatever you're going to need to survive, because basically, if you remember what happened when we thought toilet paper was going to be unavailable, I think it's going to get worse when food becomes unavailable. So, fill up your gas tanks, because I don't know anybody can afford $400 a gallon for gas. And the only way we're going to avoid that one is by opening up our oil again in America. And I don't think the Democrats are going to let us do that. Of course, if the American politicians are no longer going to be able to affect the OPEC prices or the OPEC thing, because let's face it, once the American dollar becomes worthless, American politicians are going to be pretty much the same boat. They're going to be worthless. So that should be interesting. We may end up losing all the American politicians just because of, because they buried themselves with this garbage. They created this situation, a lot of them. But watch your banks. Once you start seeing more banks going down the tubes, and watch the stock market. I don't know if people are aware that the stock market's been dropping like a rock. I haven't looked at it lately, but last time they were, last time I saw it, basically it dropped like a zillion points, and all of a sudden, I don't see the stock market anymore on TV. It's like all of a sudden it disappeared. So, you know, the only thing you can do is keep your eyes open, keep listening to what's going on, pay attention. It's not a lot of people are talking about the Russia China deal. I've noticed they're more interested in the fact that, oh, we're going to arrest President Trump for garbage again. I mean, this is all that is a distraction. They don't want you to pay attention to the real news. You know, I don't know if people are aware that we had three banks go under last week. I think once more banks start going under, it's going to become quite obvious because people are going to start. Uh, People are going to start worrying when all of a sudden they can't access their money, because that's going to be the other thing that's going to happen. Once the dollar no longer is worth anything, that's all the banks live on. If there's nothing to for them to deal with in the banks, and banks are going to go under because they can't keep up. So, all right, well, that's my video. It's kind of like I wish I had better news. I've just been, I pay attention to what's going on in the world, and nobody else is going to tell you this stuff apparently. So, you know, we'll see how well it goes. I pray for everybody. Like I said, this is going to affect my children, my grandchildren, more than it is me. I don't have a whole bunch of time left in this world, but I tell you, at the rate it's going, it might just affect me too. So it's happening a lot faster than I thought it would. Uh, have a good morning. Have a good day. Pay attention. It's out there for you. Talk to you soon. Bye.